Hi there. I'm a parent from Vanderbijl Park community, and our community and the whole of the Vaal Triangle in South Africa have been shaken by a very tragic event that took place at Hoërskool Driehoek in the last week. In the past 2 days, I've been part of a team of people that have reached out at Hoërskool Driehoek, providing support and prayer facilitation to students, to teachers and to parents that have been touched and influenced by this very tragic event. One of the things that I see is taking place is people have got a lot of questions, and there's a lot of very difficult and very reasonable questions that are being asked, like, why would God do such a thing like this? Why would God allow for children, for students to die such a tragic death? And this is questions that we see are in the hearts and the minds of so many students, so many children that we are talking to. And it is very clear to me that in the midst of this very tragic event, that the goodness of the Lord is under attack in the hearts of His children, and that people are really wondering. Now, we were not there when the slab fell down, and I cannot imagine in my mind what happened and what exactly every single person that was there when the slab fell down experienced. But I can speak from a time in our life, a very dark time in our own life, where we experienced a very traumatic event and where we had the same questions in our hearts and in our minds. Where 14 years ago, my own family experienced the death of our 4-year-old daughter after a security gate in our townhouse complex fell down and fell upon her, and where my wife and my 6-year-old daughter at that time saw the gate fall on our 4-year-old daughter. And within 4 hours after the event, she died due to very serious injuries. And I can tell and I can speak from a time in our life that was a very, very dark time, where the good Christian people that we thought we were at that stage had a lot of questions and a lot of question marks. And at the end of the day, all the questions that we had at some stage just stopped, and our questions were towards heaven, where we questioned the goodness of God, and how can such a thing happen to a 4-year-old daughter and to people that we felt at that stage we're not bad people, just as this tragic event did not happen to bad people. And we experienced in that time how our question marks really stopped us in our tracks. For some time, it was not our journey to recover from an event like that was no quick journey. It took us some time, but we did experience that for ourselves, for our family, for our closest friends, all of us came to a cross junction in the road where the struggles in our heart could send us in one of two journeys. And one journey was that we would completely give up on our faith. And the other journey would be that this tragic event would cause us to be in a more close relationship with God. And grateful today that we can talk about 14 years later, that it was the second event that took place. It was the second option where, by God's grace, we embarked on a journey where we experienced healing, where we experienced acceptance, and where in the very, very darkest moments of our life, we experienced how the light of God and the love of God was shining its brightest in our life. And in the past couple of days, I've been sharing a scripture with pupils, with children, with adults, which we find in 1 John 1 verse 5. And when I speak these words to you today, I want you to take a moment and think about what these words mean to you when you hear it. And 1 John 1 verse 5 says that God is light, and in Him there is no darkness at all. What do these words mean to you? What is it that you are hearing when you are hearing that God is light, and in Him there is no darkness at all? And the revelation of this piece of truth took some time for us to discover as we were on our journey of every single day making certain choices that would align us and send us on a path to experience healing. And really, truly, we could find in those times that it was initially the place where all of our questions were directed towards heaven, was the place that we experienced healing from. And where, for my wife and my daughter and myself, initially we were living, but also not living. We were traumatized, and we stopped to experience life in abundance for some time. But in choosing to keep our hearts open for God's truth and for God's love, we could find and experience that little by little, the love and the compassion of the Lord was renewing us day by day. And today I'm grateful to say that I'm a husband of a wife and a daughter that does not have a bitter and a hardened heart, but I've got a loving wife that's got a compassionate heart for people, for myself, for her children. I've got a daughter that's got a love for the Lord and a love for the kingdom, and that we could work through our very traumatic time and experience, and that we could find that the truth behind a piece of scripture that says God is light, and in Him there is no darkness at all. And that even today, when I read that piece of scripture in the light of what has happened, for me it says that there is no way that in the mind of God He could think to do such a tragic event like this. And for me, it's a piece of scripture that I feel I want to share with someone. Unfortunately, I know that the people that will listen to this, my revelation is not necessarily going to be your revelation. And it's probably going to take some time for you to walk your own journey. But what I want to ask you and what I pray for is that you would keep your heart open and not close and harden your heart at this point in time, because maybe we don't understand. The questions to my answers, the answers to my questions, I never received. I had a lot of questions, but I did reach a point where I knew that no answer would be sufficient for me. No answer on why that tragic event happened would be sufficient. And that even if the Lord of heaven and earth, the creator of this world, would speak in an audible voice to me, giving me the answer to the question of why, I was so certain that I would have a yes, but. Yes, but Lord. I would have another alternative. Just as no matter what answer all of us receive in a time like this on why did this happen, because no answer would be a good and a logical answer for us. And the whole community will still have a yes, but. And for us, we had to move past our questions and our question marks. And we had to accept the fact that we will probably never receive an answer to our why. And we had to be okay with that. And it took time. It was not immediate. It took time for us to walk our journey to healing. And today I can tell you that it is the Lord of heaven and earth, the light of this world. It was Jesus that walked with myself and my family and walked with us a road of healing. I pray for every single person that's in a faith journey and faith struggle at this moment, finding it hard to find acceptance and find answers in the midst of this time. My prayer for you is that you would find your own revelation in 1 John 1 verse 5 that says that God is light. In Him there is no darkness at all. That He is not a God that would do a thing like that. And that in this world that we are living in, there are things that happen. But for us as believers, the bad things that happen in some sort of a way always result that we've got a question towards heaven. 14 years later, we have our moments where we still reflect on what has happened. We will never forget what happened. And we have certain days in the year that will always be a special day. Special in the fact that we think more about our loved ones. We cry for the fact that we miss and long after them. But 14 years later, I can say that God has restored and that the Lord touched our hearts and that He helped us to not be hardened, bitter people that is still stuck in that tragic event of 14 years ago. But He is truly the one who has helped us to live again. And when we mourn, the days that we mourn the loss of our loved ones, I can say we do not mourn without hope. And my prayer is that even for as long as you will mourn the loss of a loved one and of a friend, that there will be a day that you will mourn, but not mourn without hope.